Alright, it is time. Hello everybody. Welcome to round 5 of Tournament 4. We have 3 matches to cover because we have 6 players left. And as for the bracket, we can see those 6 players. We got 2 of which are both tournament winners in their own right. They'll be facing in the upper bracket. And then in the lower bracket, we've got myself versus Wirox and AC19 versus The Face, also known as O's, also known as Indubitablement. And he's got some other nicknames too. We will be seeing which of those 2 players from the bottom half are going out and which of the top half is going to be sent to the lower. And then of the 2 winners, the other one is guaranteed to be in the grand finals. Pretty cool. We actually have a lot more graphics today than usual. Instead of just this one graphic, we've got matchup-specific graphics for Lefthook versus stoicrooster. Also these two. Also these two. But let's back it up a second. Lefthook, winner of the previous champion, got here by defeating Mushimango and Wirox. We can see Lefthook's decks on the left. His main deck being Argeon, so going to be starting up with Linar. stoicrooster, on the other hand, his main deck is Xerix, so going to be starting off with Vitruvian. And has some good accolades as well, having won the second tournament and got 3rd place, tied with his AC19 in the other 2 tournaments. And as for the specific decks that these guys are playing, we can see that there are a ton of spells in this Argeon deck that Lefthook is going to be starting with. It's going to be important to play around all these nasty cards like Decimate and Apyrion's Claim. A lot of 1-ofs, so it's kind of hard to play around everything because sometimes Lasting Judgment is really good. Saberspine Alpha is a gigantic fast cat. And we're going to be seeing stoicrooster start with Xerix, which is a fault deck that will try to make the center tile into the swirly sands that this Kanum Ka can go berserk on. And has a lot of survivability to get to the late game with things like the Emerald Rejuvenator and the Golem package to get a good starting hand and starting game. And Portal Guardian can usually be a pretty big threat too. Once these guys, whoever loses the first game will be able to switch to their secondary deck, which could be the Ragnora deck or Stoic's own take on Argeon, which we can see has way fewer spells. Yes, indeed. Well, with that said, let's get into the first game of the day. Going into Lefthook versus stoicrooster. Who's going to grand finals and who's going to the lower bracket? Let's find out. Okay, so first up, stoicrooster rolling and getting the left player position. Going to be able to open up with a Celebrant, which is a really nice way to start your game out. It's pretty tanky, so it's probably going to survive and allow the Stream Shaper to draw cards. Lefthook doesn't want to see his giant cat in his opening hand. That'll be an easy replace. Finds a bunch of smaller creatures instead. Can even do turn 1 Alchemist, turn 2 Sentinel to absolutely destroy anything with 2 toughness that shows up. So as long as his Mana Spring didn't go into the center, then he's good, because if it went any further to the right, it could have been stolen. So you want to make sure your Mana Springs are back like this. And this is a pretty nice spot to put the Mana Spring, because it's pretty unlikely your opponent's going to have something like 2 Blood Tier Alchemists and a cat to punish it all. And with the turn 1 Celebrant, it can easily do a Sand Swirl Reader next turn if he wants. More likely going to be dropping several Golems or the Guardian. Lefthook probably wants to drop his 2 2-drops. The Adept and the Lion are decent to get down early. Instead, saving the mana and just placing the Lion down here, which is a Good way to play around your Vitruvian opponent giving a +1/+1 wish to the Celebrant, and then possibly doing a bit more damage than you think. So the cat's fine, it can snatch almost any mana, it can't get this top one. Wirox with 5 mana at his disposal. Potentially 6 if he immediately gets the Celebrant. Doesn't have any good targets for Sand Swirl Reader because Lefthook has placed this so far back. And Blood of Air is definitely way too early. It's a pretty useful card though, so Stoic's gonna hold on to it. So if I were to guess, it would be a Portal Guardian, and then it would be a Celebrant or a Dream Shaper. Maybe a Celebrant to make the next turn Sand Swirl Reader really easy. Still has an option to replace. Not going to, because the hand quality is too good. And a very defensive Mana Spring. This cat absolutely cannot get. And we can see the 2 trophies these guys have already got. Lefthook with 4 to 6 mana. Not a lot of great targets for Regalia. Killing a Celebrant doesn't mean a whole lot. The cat collects the center mana. This Portal Guardian's in a pretty good spot, so it can't get got on. It might be time for the Tigris to come out. Yeah. The Kitten Factory plus the Spear Chucking is such a good combo to get going. Stoic gonna immediately cash it on his back row mana just to deal with this backline threat. 5 mana in, 5 mana out. So pushing 2 points of damage is not the play, because having more hit points on this Guardian is better, because Lionar kind of struggles dealing with really high hit point minions all of the time. They don't have a particular removal spell to deal with it. Oh hey, here's a nice removal spell. So the Sunbloom is pretty nice at taking out the Sand Swirl tiles once they show up, but turning off this Guardian might just be worth it. Roared up cat, what is it gonna do? Okay, so just slashing the Guardian. Going to be holding on to the silence then. Hopefully gonna find more than one target for it. Another option there was to just slash it and then get the Sentinel out, but the Regalia is a good way to save some health, and it's a really threatening artifact. The Celebrant isn't even in range to take a durability pip off of it. Oh, and a step back by the cat, just to avoid getting creamed by the celebrant. Celebrant's still gonna come towards it, though. And very nice refill on the hand. The backline celebrant paying off. Stoic replaces and finds an Emerald Rejuvenator, which is a minion that is just big enough to get one-shot by this Regalia, so it's not perfect. The Fireblaze Obelisk is much better at taking down an artifact like this. It's not going down in one hit, and it can continuously generate threats while pumping up your team so they can get through the damage resistance. Lefthook, now with 2 Saberspine Alphas in his hand. Now's the time to rip the Sunbloom and turn off the Obelisk. And the Cub finds a good target. And this line in the back actually is blocking the Celebrant from hitting the General, which is really nice placement, while also keeping it defended from Stoic's other units in general. Sandscroll Reader is great. +1/+1 draw a card. Finds the Fault. Fault is most powerful when you can activate it and then cross it, but being pinned on the back line, it's going to be really hard to do that. And the Sandscroll doesn't even do much because there's only a 2-drop minion to unsummon. Stoic could go fishing deeper in his deck with the Stream Shaper. This might be the time to do it, because both these golems might be gone next turn. Sand swirling your own obelisk can't be worth it. Yeah, it goes for the card draw. Blood Tear is really nice against an artifact because it just does 1 damage instantly. Only need to damage him 3 times while he's got it equipped to shatter it entirely. Can respect a thoughtful turn, taking up all his time. So it's kind of a distracting obelisk where this would, if Lefthook goes for it, it pulls a lot of the heat off of Stoic. And if Lefthook doesn't go for it, the buff is going to be nice. Saberspine Alpha might be coming through to eat the Celebrant, because that would clear the way for the Regalia to get a face-to-face hit. And then Sandscroll Reader isn't even great against it because this cat is just so fast. Lefthook goes for the full clear in case any other Dream Shapers are around. And check this out. With another Saberspine in hand too. Stoic pinned in the corner. Not a very good spawn on the Wind Dervish, it can't contribute. Has some healers. He's not going to be able to heal up his hit points as fast as Lefthook is tearing it down. This could have been an incredible turn with the Cataclysmic Fault plus the BTA. Going for it anyway. And then the Blood Tear to finish off the Saber Spine. And proc all of these sands. So Stoic with a pretty nice power bump. Lefthook's going to look to try to close the game out as quick as he can. Because one wave of these guys are going to just shatter this Regalia, and the next wave will be lethal. With Sunbloom, 2 of these sand tiles could be turned off, as well as the Obelisk. Which is definitely the play. Lefthook figures he can't immediately get the win otherwise. Gets kind of an awkward spawn with the Cub, but at least he can take out the BTA. So Stoic is gonna, now that Stoic has his fault going, he's gonna want to cross to the other side of it. Oh, draws a Caw. What an incredible card. 3/3 haste, and it has 6 lives. No, wait. Plus another 3. So this Caw can break the Regalia just by itself. Behold, as it demonstrates its power. Anything considered a dervish just gets rebirthed as it. It's a way to absolutely destroy a Voth player once they've powered up, because you can cash in all of your units for damage. +1 bump to take out the Letigris. Stoic really navigated this game pretty nicely. Because I went from Lefthook in a dominating position to, uh-oh, now he doesn't have a single minion against this board and is in the corner. And is fishing for answers with a Trinity Oath. Tempest is a nice answer. Turns off the Caw and all its tricks. And going face instead of finishing off this 1-2, looking to just win the game. One more slash plus 1 Tiger Bite would do it. And the Lion's a pretty distracting threat. It's probably going to get hit by a Sand Swirl Reader. Healing back from the brink. Back to double digits life. So now Lefthook. It's got a big cat, got a small cat, the BTA. Regalia is probably not the greatest when there's this many units to deal with. Circle of Life is pretty nice. Replaces and finds a Decimate, which could be absolutely key. Destroys any minions not near a general. It's not going to do much now. Does he just throw the Saber Spine in? Oh, he's going to heal back up. Pretty good use of deal 5, heal 5. But he's got a problem. Stoic can just fade away to the other corner and has infinite units. So Lefthook's gonna try to keep the distance close. Lefthook decides to keep his 1 mana and his blood tier. Stoic with the 9 mana turn of Rejuvenator plus Sand Swirl seems pretty solid. Might not even replace. So might be sand swirling his own unit? No, not even. Replace a sand swirl? It's kind of late to do a replace. Stoic might just be fine having these 2 minions. Oh, well, finds another Rejuvenator at the end of turn. After pulling it back into his hand. So does end up sand swirling his own unit after all. Casting your Rejuvenator over and over again is a good way to go to full health. Decimate does not get rid of any of the blockers that Xerx's got around shielding him. So it immediately gets swapped into a Holy Ammo. Lefthook finally finds a claim. This is one of the better cards in this matchup, because it gets rid of all the sand swirls. At least in a 3x3 area. But it looks like Lefthook is going for the blood tier plus Holy Ammo combo. Oh. This allows him to keep the aggression up. So Stoic doesn't want to exactly sand swirl his obelisk in the back row. Even though it's a dead unit, that just kind of puts this sand swirl way out of reach. Seven hit points and a Tempest in hand? Uh-oh, this is starting to look a little dangerous, but the Emerald Rejuvenator definitely smooths over the situation. Because otherwise it would have been Tempest into Alpha into good game. As is, Lefthook only has 9 burst damage. Stoic is contemplating using another Sand Swirl. Because yeah, if we see a diagonal step here, a slash takes Stoic down to 9. A Tempest would also have gone off, which would be down to 7. And Big Cat, this seems to be 1 mana short of lethal. Lefthook probably just going to look to throw down a claim. Oh, these Sand Swirls are gone. Okay, so now Sand Swirl is looking a little better. +1/+1ing a unit that doesn't really matter just to cycle a card. And decides to transform this Adept. Even though it was only a 2-drop, it's pretty good to turn that into damage. Style Lefthook's at 5. Lethal seems to be just out of his grasp again. And using a Tempest to bring yourself from 5 to 3 is hella risky. It might be the best thing to do though. Because neither of these obelisks are functioning. 2 damage gets rid of everything, and then that leaves leftovers for the cat. Hold up. This is lethal after all. Only needed to reduce him down to 7. Wow. Goes down to 1 hit point. What a close game. Lefthook taking the first game against Stoic. Well played, which means Stoic on his right half side of the screen here might be switching it up to an Archeon Ditto. Although he'll be able to see how his list matches up against Lefthook's list. Let's jump into game number 2 and see if he does make that switch. Okay. The only switch was starting positions. So Lefthook with 2 Blood Tier Alchemists in turn 1 has the option of going for both diagonal mana tiles at the same time. You usually only want to do that if you also have a Latigris in your hand, because ramping to 5 is pretty pointless and you just end up with an empty hand. Stoic, on the other hand, turn 1 Metallurgist, probably also turn 1 Fireblaze. So 2 Blood Tiers is too many. 1 gets swapped back. A lot of options for Stoic. These are all fine turn 1 things to do. Celebrant for another mana tile. I feel like the obelisk is too useful to not get down right away, because any of the dervishes that come out of it can beat the cat. The only problem though is you don't get a discount on it from the Metallurgist. So this could be a Celebrant plus a Dream Shaper, but he would have needed the mana for it, so it can only be one or the other. Which means his first wish is also a good turn 1 play. Fits in pretty nicely. Dream Shaper in the middle. It's probably getting buffed. Huh. Never mind. Bloodseer's here. Well, seems like a good start. The Sentinel on this Alchemist, really good here. So Lefthook can clear the board back. Oh, we have an Avenger in the back. There's not much that Stoic can do to deal with this Sworn Avenger if he can't run it down. He's going to be hoping to find a Blood of Air at some point. But a 3-mana creature that's demanding a 5-mana removal is good news for Lefthook. Sentinel's definitely a tempo monster. Big tough body and usually gets a minion on the way in. Not opting to full clear these golems. Just going face. Pushing the clock immediately. Doesn't even care about this discount. Well, Blood Tear is probably gonna do a nice little finishing touch. Never mind. More damage. Just pushing it up. Completely ignoring these minions. It's a good move, because stoicrooster doesn't have any golems in his hand to benefit from the discount. Or maybe it wasn't a good move, because it allowed Sandswirl to get in close. And has more sand swirls, so this Sentinel's going down next turn. Could potentially destroy this obelisk. Blood Tear Alchemist plus Holy Immo would do it. Oh, is it happening? Oh, it's happening. So instead of using the Sand Swirl, opts to just kill it with Blood of Air, because if you bounce that minion back, it can use its ability again of +2, -2ing a thing. And finally drawing his fault, now that he's got the mana to cast it. Probably Trinity Oath into dropping a 2-drop minion. Replaces and finds a 2-drop minion, but Trinity Oaths anyway. And keeping the aggression on. Windblade Adept's probably going to be put out of reach of the Sand Swirl Reader, so probably the right side. Or it's in reach. Doesn't care if it trades with it. Maybe it's more valuable to keep it out of reach of the token. Stoic's got some big slow options. Probably gonna wait for Faults to be activated at the same turn as Alchemist. So it might be a Portal Guardian turn. Maybe not. Surely it's not a Sand Swirl Reader. It's already too late for the Portal Guardian, because you would want to drop it before you make a token. But Sand Swirl Reader doesn't have to be played, because this 4/4 can deal with this 3/3 pretty easily. But having the Sand Swirl is better than not. Lefthook is more than half the way there. This is a pretty good blocker, though. 4/4 is pretty threatening. You usually want to be sitting on these sand tiles so they stop spitting out units, like so. Oh, a point blank in your face Sworn Avenger just so it can get Holy Emoed. Holy Immolation, absolutely incredible AoE. This 4/4 can't deal with the Archer because of the placement. Pretty nice. Got that Emerald Rejuvenator sustain. Fifth Canopic is okay, it's just a really tanky beater. Now has two of them. Too bad they both can't be cast on the same turn. Let's see, Lefthook could actually slash and get in with a Saber Spine. That's would put it Stoic to 4. Emerald Rejuvenator coming in clutch again. So Lefthook gonna have to settle for a 2-turn kill if he can get it. Seven is basically the magic number. That's one general hit plus the cat. Stoic is not seeing an exit. So, looks like Stoic is just playing as if the Saber Spine Alpha wasn't in hand. Although Lefthook does have 2 copies of it. And as we can see, even just the cat roared by itself is enough. And victory goes to Lefthook, winning against Stoic Rooster 2-0. For one more look at what their lists and accolades were, here is the screen with these two guys. But Stoic Rooster now dropping to the lower bracket, which means when he starts his match, he'll be able to do either his main deck or his secondary deck. Didn't actually go for the Ditto, because didn't think that would be a good Ditto matchup. So tried to get there with Sand Swirl tiles, but wasn't able to. So we'll be seeing more Stoic Rooster later. If you go back to the bracket, we're taking this from the top to the bottom. So next up is me versus Wirox. Wirox making it further than ever now that his hater's not in the tournament, and I'm also making it further than ever in one of my tournaments, so that's pretty great. Our decks look like this. Wirox was in the upper bracket a little further than me, so he'll be on the left side. Starting off with either of his 2 decks, either this Cassie Swarm deck or a Sif deck that also has, well, some funny business. He's not running the Sands, but is running a Scarab, has some teleportation option with the Astral phasing to give this Guardian flying, Or better yet, these Razor Crag golems, which is also part of this equality constraint. Myself, on the other hand, I've got the funny deck. Starhorn is here to delete somebody with Apex plus Mimivore plus mini units. And then once they don't have a deck, you just take it from there. Plan B is Lilith with very few minions, but we're trying to get Grandmaster Wirox out ASAP. So my Wraithlings turn into 5/5s. The Lilith deck is actually a creation of Lefthook. He had a deck series going for a while, and I thought it would be a really fun one to try. Yes, indeed, it is time for series number 2 coming to you. Wirox versus me in 3, 2, 1. Cool. All right. So last time I went with Starhorn for my previous series, so I decided to mix things up and start with Lilith instead. Wirox, on the other hand, here with a pretty nice starter of these 2 golems. My starter is pretty miserable. I have one piece of the combo, the Darkfire Sacrifice, the other piece of the combo being the 8-drop minion. And Blazehound is, I guess, going to have to be my first play. Kind of awkward. And we can see Wirox here with his Sirocco plan, going to be looking to do some swarming. And possibly make them really tanky as well with Inner Oasis. This is a pretty strong formation. I generally would like having the Dream Shaper on the outer tile to be able to grab the Mana Spring, but Wirox has some other plans. Here's my Blazehound, here to ruin this mana tile and bring this Golem Meddler just within killing distance. I'm actually going to burn a card if I pass my turn. I think I should cast Darkfire Sacrifice on the 4/3? Nah, I'd rather just burn the card. The 3rd Darkfire Sacrifice. Well, that's fine. I've already got the big boy and only need 1. Wirox has drawn his 10 power golem. It only costs 3 if you can believe it. Pretty easy to clear, but pretty not so much the case once it gets hit by an equality constraint, or even this Inner Oasis doubles its health. And he'll also be pretty happy to have a Bone Swarm in hand, which is really good against Swarm in general. Draws Grapnel. And his team is already too tanky. Opting to take 4 face damage instead of any minion damage. So here's the Rolling of the Shadow finally. It's Infinite Wraithlings on demand. Bloodtide Priestess, pretty nice to get down just for infinite Wraithling value. Cool Hula Hoop sprite. It's kind of hard to put down into this board though, because it doesn't get any immediate activations and takes all my mana, so that can't be right. The trick with this deck is you get to 6 mana, and then you can skip 2 of the mana, and then just jump all the way to 8. So I'll try to find an opening to get that. Yeah, the meanwhile, it's probably Sphere of Darkness to cycle, draw something else. Make a play for the last remaining mana. Okay, Blood Tide in the back. This is a way to sustain yourself against threats once you have a shield of Wraithlings around it, because you can't even break the Wraithlings to get to her because they just keep respawning. It can even beat stuff like Flight. Wirox does have the option to immediately Blood of Air it. Probably going to want to, because this card's extremely dangerous as it turns out. Other option is you just ignore it and I get a ton of units, which will not do, so it's gone. Okay, so next turn ideally is when I cast, but I'm going to need a unit to sacrifice to even do that. So we'll replace my 5 mana removal spell, nothing big enough for that. Aether Master helps me find pieces of the combo, don't need that. Wraithling Swarm on the other hand, perfect. So I've given Metallurgist the spikes, probably gonna melee it to finish it off. And fun thing about Darkfire Sacrifice is the buff carries over to future turns. Also, I don't end up clearing the Metallurgist, I went for the 2/2 instead, which might end up costing me as there's a Golem here that could be dropped. So I summoned 5 Wraithlings and then I pass my turn. This is because in prior games when I was playing this deck, I would cast Darkfire Sacrifice and basically telegraph that I'm going to be casting Big Boy. It also might have been a better turn to get the Furiosa down and start pumping these guys up right away. Instead, I go for the make as many units as possible. Because my plan next turn is I Darkfire Sacrifice and then I immediately Variax, but really, I should have just Darkfire Sacrificed during my turn. Because now it'll be really easy for Wirox to clear my board, having stolen 2 Wraithlings with Grab. And Wirox definitely going for the full clear. And I'm just shaking my head at this point because this should have been Variax being slammed down. But instead, I gotta do some damage control. I do have another Bloodtide Priestess, so I am staring at that. Might be best to Demonic Lure this Grapnel to the corner to send it away. So I could do that plus Bloodtide Priestess. Other option is I could still try to do the Furiosa plan. I could at least get a Relentless Shadow down and then put Furiosa in the corner to protect it. Dropping Wirox this turn wouldn't have been all bulletproof anyway, because we can see the immediate Blood of Air to answer it. So Bloodtide Priestess, I put it here thinking I can get some possible perfect spawns. That spawn isn't a good start, but I'm thinking hopefully you can get some amount in. I used the whip just to kill the Wraithling on the spot and convert it back to being mine. And then eat this Wraithling to put it in a better spot. So now I just need these Wraithlings to respawn exactly on top of where they were to keep this Scrapnel out. Using the whip on the individual hostile Wraithling was probably not the play. But I had a lot of faith in Bloodtide Priestess to carry. This Furiosa is probably being replaced. It's kind of like a plan B if you don't get your Wirox together. And it's pretty strong early, but it's not great when you're behind. And this second Darkfire sacrifice is probably just going to be the replace. Wirox pumping up this grapnel to 6/6 now. Now I'm really wishing I sent this thing to the corner. Ugh, 2 hit points, I'm dead to anything. I have to make a full wall. Which I could technically sort of do by sacrificing this Wraithling. And summoning another Wraithling, but then that could just be cut down. Of course, there's this astral phasing, so Grapnel could jump. So even if I did put it in the corner, that wouldn't have been an answer towards it. Ugh, I hit the surrender button. If only that Wirox came out when it should have. Yeah, I was not able to get the 6-mana Wirox out, and ended up crumbling to this pressure of just a big Wirox, or a big Grapnel in my face. And Blood of Air is responding to my priestesses every time. Well, I'm down 1-0. Congrats on your 1 win, Wirox. Let's go to game number 2. See if I can pull it back. I'm going to be switching it up to Starhorn. I'll see if I can delete his deck before you even can cast it. Or have kind of a normal Magmar game. At least I like the homeostatic rebukes, which are a good way to deal with the Sirocco spam. One of my favorite turn 1 player 2 plays is a Metallurgist and then immediately a Ragebinder. I got something similar with a Silithar. So then I immediately play this hand as if it's a Metallurgist and a Ragebinder, but then I realized, wait, no, this is Young Silithar. Whoops. So I end up eating my mana for not much. It does prevent Wirox from grabbing it himself. But Silithar would have been better off 1 tile lower, or maybe even below my general. Or even maybe just a Ragebinder raw by itself. So a Bone Swarm and a Blood Tear Alchemist make short work with the Silithar. He's got 1 copy of Superior Mirage in his hand. And 2 Siroccos, so pretty heavy on the 5s. I like to keep topped up on this deck, so it's a lot of Spelljammers. Wirox could cast a Sirocco for 1, which is kind of measly. But this is the only play he's got other than dropping a Healing Mystic. Does it. Golems for 1. The Golem positioning is actually pretty incredible. It's set up to block and take out the Spelljammer. So maybe it was a good play after all. Since I'm maxed out in my hand, I want to get rid of the Spelljammer, since I can't double cast. I had a feeling that Wirox had multiple Siroccos in his hand at this point, because why would you cast one on a board like this and otherwise? So I'm going to hold on to this Rebuke. And let's get Rift Beast in the back. Some one-sided card draw. Razor Crag. That's got to be better than Sirocco for 2. Even though it can't be flying or anything. But it could be a 10-10. Is that good enough? Equality Constraint could also be used to kill my Rift Beast. If he uses Dissension as well. That seems to be better than making a 10-3 a 10-10. But a 10-3 would just die to a Mechanta Warbeast. Sirocco the second. And instead, using Dissension on the Rage Binder so it can't do any cleanup. Again with the strong spawns. There's one Golem right in my face. Can't even fall back to the right side anymore. Well, it's a Magmar deck and I've got 6 mana. Which means it's time for Mechanta Warbeast! Yeah. This thing is always good. So the token spawn working in my favor this time. Little do I know the spell that Wirox has in his hand. It's a funny counter that's actually really good against Magmar and this minion in particular. Wirox is probably not going to hesitate at all. Because this card, if you cast it on a minion with Rush, then your illusions can immediately activate, and they seem pretty real. And now he has 3 Mechanta Warbeasts. And is going to take a single point of damage trading for my Rift Beast in the back while cleaning up everything. Fortunately for me, the spawns were not that great. None of them were in range to hit my general. And these are illusions, so since they're just mirages, if you attack them, they disappear without even counterattacking. And since they've got so much damage on them, this Bone Reaper I've got in my hand suddenly turns into a really good cleanup. And Wirox with a +1 mana too. I like seeing Pandora and Mimivore together because they definitely combo. Boom. 1 down, 3 down. Feels pretty good to deal with a Mirage. Quality Constraint has all kinds of good uses. Any of these funny minions that have low health, or rather a lot of health and low attack, they just get clowned on. Casts a Quality Constraint without casting the BBS, so instead of killing it instantly, has to do a slash to finish it. Must really value that 1 extra mana. Because for 6 mana, that can be a full surround. Okay, so Wirox is just looking to push damage instead of do like a full surround, really. But I'm kind of boxed in. Homeostatic Rebuke is decent. When you're casting this, be sure not to be next to an enemy unit with Frenzy, otherwise you'll just get hit by it. Hey, I find Evolutionary Apex. So in theory, Pandora can spawn a wolf that has Provoke. That might be really valuable. Or one that has Rush that could immediately... Well, Rush doesn't happen because it's out of turn. So I could Apex and try to start deleting the deck, but then I die the next turn, so I gotta clear this board. And I could do both of these golems and get a small heal, so I'm going for it. And 2 Mimivores have showed up, so if I cast Apex, they're just going to absolutely destroy this deck. And then I need to deal with the board. Wirox really thinking about this cantrip spell. Because now that I've got this kind of mana, he's got to know this Apex could just be cast at any point. +1's the Portal Guardian, Quality Constraint for later. Funny thing, Blood of Air, it will pump up your Portal Guardian. Because transforming an enemy into a dervish counts as summoning. Oh, here's the tight contain. I can't even use Fury to get out of it, or Homeostatic Rebuke. Replace and find 2 Pandoras. So if I get 2 Taunters, and only this Portal Guardian can hit me, but that can't be, because the dogs are spawning on the outside. So that is it. That is it for me. Wirox is part of your final 4. Regrettably, I'm not GG to me. That's what I get for those colossal misplays, I guess. So if we take a look at this, my journey ends here at 6th place. Congratulations, Wirox. Little Rocks, as the captioner thinks it is. But definitely big in this matchup. Good stuff, good stuff. Let's have one last look at these decks before we go on our way. And yeah, we may be seeing some more of the Sif or of this Cassiva. The creep package didn't jump out today, but maybe in the later days. Okay, we've got one more series. Agent Cypher 19 versus O ___ O. And their decks look like, well, deck non-plural for the face, as he is only rocking 1 deck, 1 minion. That's right, it's the EMP legend himself. Unusually has Sunstone Bracers in here, which is technically a combo with Donzai, and technically decent if you need to empty your hand. So we'll see how good that is. Agent Cypher 19, fun fact, has gotten 3rd 3 times, so we'll see if he can do any better or how that's going to shake up. Going to be playing either this Ragnora deck or the Braum deck. Might not want to be playing Braum into a mirror, because the few value engines are going to just be countered by spells, and the Sunset Paragon doesn't have anything to hit. Whereas this Rag deck has some fun stuff, like what if Horizon comes down and there isn't a way to answer it, then it just kind of punishes the BBS. And there's a lot of burst, a lot of speed, some egg combos. Thumping Wave is an interesting one. So interesting a pick, I put it as Agent Cypher's icon, because he didn't have a icon. Let's get into the final series of the day. AC 19 versus O's. Let's take a look. It is a Braum Ditto after all. AC 19 maybe looked at the lists and thinks that his list has an edge. And we can see Indubitablement's bar at the bottom and AC 19 stuff is at the top. So very common Braum play, 2 steps forward, pass, and then next turn probably going to be like a Sunstone Bracer into losing its durability immediately. That doesn't sound great. Agent Cypher 19 will be able to get the Scintilla. So it's a removal magnet, probably going to get hit by Lasting Judgment or maybe even a Martyrdom. Judgment. Yeah, there's quite a few targets for this Martyrdom, so Indubitablement will be happy to get a second copy. Not too happy though, because there's not that many minions. But a Regalia into the Bracers, immediately beating for 5. Could this be the power of the Bracers? Game is over 1 turn quicker. And then draws the Afterblaze, which is only usable on the Crestfallen. Holy ammo to put some damage on this Regalia. And the Sunstone Bracer. Does he just slash for pushing the other pip? It does! This is a big health chunk lost. But really valuing this artifact suite getting weaker. But now AC-19's at 13 health. That doesn't seem conducive to surviving, although Brome does have incredible healing. Interesting cast of Trinity Oath. Ends up burning a Regalia, unfortunately. So then throws a stun at the end of turn. Just so AC-19 can't make a play for the top mana. AC-19's not going to be too happy about this stun, because a Regalia counterattack could have come in. Now going to have the Tempest twice, taking himself down to 9 to deal with it. So here's the Afterblaze, turns this into a decent threat. What? Oh, wow. Cast Sunbloom on the corner of the map just to get it out of his hand, because otherwise this Sundrop Elixir would have been burned. Realizing he doesn't need this many silences. Agent Cypher with his Regalia doesn't want to have to use it on this Crestfallen. Won't have to. Circle of Life plus a slash deals with it. At the cost of so much. Maybe just it's time for Lasting Judgment? It is. Conserves those hit points. So how tempting is the mana? Not tempting. Face does not need to ramp, would rather keep the distance close. I mean, with a name like that, do you not go face? Chugs a Sundrop Elixir, immediately draws another one. He's going to be happy to see that. Double Regalia in response. AC-19 is suited right up. It's most of his action bar, but this is a 3-turn kill. And these claims don't do anything, so they're getting replaced pretty quickly. All removal, top to bottom, other than like a single healing potion. So I guess it's going to be a heal up turn. Holy Immolation on the other side is pretty dangerous, though. The game could just be over. Or close to it. Oh, a stun. This is a really good stun. Keeps these nasty Regalias back. Because the play could have been a Conjure into Holy Immolation and to go for the win. But now it's going to be Blue Conjure into maybe a Sundrop to just get some new units in hand. Nope, it's MO. All day, every day. Oh, hands off a Mage Sworn. This turns off a lot of cards. Doesn't turn off everything, though. It would just get immediately hit by a Martyrdom. Which is still fine to heal yourself for 8. So the Blue Conjure just gets hit by some classy removal. And playing the BBS unit up here, it loses the keyword, but getting the unit out is more important. And having it not die immediately. Because he's got to build up a small force to deal with these artifacts. So Afterblaze also stops working when the Mage Sworn is out. Because you want to be casting this on your Zeal units. Mage Sworn isn't the greatest play though, because it's going to shut off a ton of stuff in Agent's own deck. But it's all he's got. Kingsguard, Healing Potion, Mage Sworn. Wait, we're not casting? Okay, well, the Sundrop Elixir is now locked. Maybe Agent Cypher's got the reads that it's going to be immediately removed anyway, or maybe this is replace fodder. Healing your opponent for 8 is pretty rough, but having a third of your cards non-functional might be rougher. So it's gotta go. Indubitable Mid is way too reliant on casting this BBS unit as often as he can. And is gonna fade away to not get beaten down by this Regalia. He's not ready to face it yet. Oh, this conscript is gonna take one for the team. Agent Cypher finds another value engine. Gonna be happy with this. Does the diagonal step. If that unit wasn't positioned there, AC-19 probably would have done 2 steps to the left, so this is kind of like AI manipulation, so to speak. And a Scroll Bandit has appeared. If this thing can steal something, there are a ton of good spells to steal, but it's pretty weak. Death Kneel is also here to do some funny resurrection, because it'll grab back all the blue conjurers that have been killed this game. So this could be one heck of a finisher. The silence on the conjurer. So now AC-19 needs to get this conjurer dead so this Death Kneel can bring it back with its text box. Going right in. Regalia is big enough that it takes no damage, doesn't even need to slash it with it, makes a circle out of it. It puts a Crestfallen in front of him, so now he can't summon one with Provoke. Could that have been a mistake? I feel like this Crestfallen needed to take 2 steps down, but no, it's gonna immediately attack for the 1 point, so that's fine. And locked down. No running away now. Which is to say the plan is probably to run away. Tempest and running into the corner. This Tempest really would have been best if it's contributing to getting rid of these 2 Regalias, because this is otherwise just going to be a game ender. These guys can't just board in Rust Crawlers suddenly. We're not gonna cast Tempest. So this is kind of a nice move, because you're basically saying, move your 4-1 into my 1 power. But Agent Cypher can just get around that trick, and gets back to business. 6 damage per turn. And the ability to cash in this 4-drop, so the turn afterwards could be Death Kneel bringing everything in. With a grip full of Blood Tier Alchemists. O's here is basically reliant on drawing a EMP to get out of this. A card which is restricted, so you can only have 1 maximum in the tournament. And is just stuck in place indefinitely because this taunt unit can just keep showing up. And AC-19 doesn't even need to do his cool Death Kneel because it has the removal in hand to push all this damage. Oh, and the extra Regalia, triple layered, hits for 8. As a fast Brome Ditto, if I've ever seen one, Agent Cypher 19 wins game number 1. And as we can see here, there isn't a plan B for Endoodlement. O_O is going to have to get there with his 1 minion. If this EMP did show up, those Regalias would have been toast instantly, and it may have flipped. Let's see if game number 2 is going to be any different. Going in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright. Agent Cypher on the right side again. Two steps forward, pass. Honestly, Agent Cypher might be doing the same thing, because there's not a lot of value to getting a Alchemist out when it's not doing any good. Doesn't have any other plays, though. But it has the extra card slot in hand, so that's fine to pass. It's not like you're burning anything. There's not a lot of consideration for playing the Blood Tier just to do 1 point of damage and then another 2 points when the General comes swinging. Because it's going to get denied if you go for a top or bottom mana. Agent Cypher's not so sure though. Does it get played? Definitely not. It's got to be turned on Sunstone Bracers. Here's the MP. That thing's not getting replaced. The Regalia Muncher. Casting a Tempest just to not have a full hand. Time for Regalia. Here it is. The beatdown is already underway. Could be a Regalia in response to have an argument about who's the beatdown. Blue Conjure, you usually want to drop it when you're immediately getting value out of it. Like, dropping it this turn is just asking for it to get silenced, or in this case, martyrdomed. Oh, Holy Ammo cuts through one pip of Regalia, and then slash for the second. Despite having the EMP, this game's going a lot rougher for the face. But it has this Dawn's Eye this time, so this Regalia that was almost destroyed is now maxed out again. And then the counter stun. These stuns are really good in this matchup, because this general wants to be doing work. This Pony is a dead card. BBS on cooldown. Needs to do 3 damage all in one go. Or damage 3 times after taking out the Regalia or going through it. Might be an opportunity window here that's closing. So it's time for the Blue Conjure to just come out. Even though there's no spells, the situation's too dangerous. You gotta get something out. Blood Tear seemed like the perfect card to deal with artifacts once you're going for it, so I don't think it's getting played to go for the mana. It is getting played to be a blocker. This might be denying the 2 steps up into BBS into Holy Ammo play, or something similar. Although, I don't think there's actually much for Holy Immolation in this deck. So 2 removal spells. Not intimidated in the slightest. Making short work of Agent Cypher 19's Regalia, who now has priority and a bunch of Tempests in hand, but not enough to crack this armor. Replaces the Pony, gets a claim, not great. Has the mana for 1 Tempest, 1 Sunstrike, 1 BBS. Could do 2 Tempests and a Slash, but that's just barely not enough. This Dawn's Eye is actually kind of incredible in that Agent Cypher just cannot do 3 pings at once. This Holy Immo doesn't even do anything, which is rare to say. Tempest anyway, just to get out of Provoke. Provoke doesn't mean a whole lot though. I guess being able to summon your own unit with Provoke is the idea. Yeah, the 1 step up into Lockdown, which asks for a piece of removal to continue the aggression. And Holy Ammo, if actually never a dead card. This card is just incredible, look at it go. Doesn't find the 3rd pip of damage, so these artifacts are going to get topped back up, but manages to take Indubitablement down to 3 hit points. Really nice turn. No healing either, unless he backlines the EMP and kills it later. Going to be reliant on the damage reduction from the Regalia. Also has a 2nd Regalia. 3 hit points versus 3 hit points. What a vicious Brom ditto. preventing the next 2 damage twice. BBS isn't an option, so might as well step right in front of your opponent? What? Yo, the Tempest to get through the Regalia, and then the Sunstrike was actually lethal. Wow. Did we see that? Agent Cypher 19 manages to take down a Dubitalment 2-0. So this Brom single deck has finally made its run and found its match. The spell suite that we saw on the left side here actually managed to get it done, with Tempest to cut through the armor and Sunstrike as a finisher. Yeah, so if we check out the bracket, that means next up we had Lefthook defeat stoicrooster. So Lefthook is going to be in the grand finals and is going to be waiting around actually many rounds until we can get him one finalist to be against. So stoicrooster is going to be facing the winner of the 4-player squad we see at the bottom, which is now just going to be Wirox versus Agent Cypher 19. Winner of that will be facing stoicrooster, and winner of that will be facing Lefthook, and then we will be done. On to the next, DGG 05. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks all for playing. GG's. It's been great. But I think we're out of here. Adios.